Film festivals are, I used to think that it was all about accruing accolades and awards for validation. But what I've found is that when I go to film festivals and I put myself out there, I end up connecting with all sorts of people. So in reality, film festivals, whether you have a movie at a film festival or not, you're going to get a valuable... Here's the thing about film festivals too. I have to ask myself, what is my goal going to this film festival? And for me, if I'm trying to cultivate a brand, and that brand being me as a filmmaker, then I need to go to film festivals and meet people. And that's how people will know who I am. Even better if I bring a movie to the film festival, meaning that I, submit and I get in and I'm selected. It's really hard to four-wall a film these days. It costs a lot of money. The cheapest way to four-wall a film is to submit it to a film festival. You can essentially screen your film in a movie theater for the price of a film festival submission, which could be $50. And when you compare $50 to however much it costs to four-wall a movie theater and try to pack butts into the seats, it becomes a no-brainer. And then it becomes about promoting your screening and how can I promote my screening. And a great incentive to put butts in seats is free food. And so, for instance, I had a morning slot at a film festival. It was not an ideal slot, but it was like an opening morning slot. So I promoted my screening as a blood feast breakfast. No, what is it? It was Blood Breakfast. So I took the name Blood Feast, like the movie. I took the title of Blood Feast, like the movie, and I put break in between the feast. So it was Blood Break Feast, and gave out free coffee and donuts. And the festival promoter liked the idea so much they actually footed the bill for the coffee and the donuts. So I didn't even have to go out of pocket on coffee and donuts. And you know what? We had a whole bunch of seats filled because we had coffee and donuts. And I met a lot of people at that screening, people that I still speak to today, people that I, do YouTube shows. They come on my YouTube channel,
My only thoughts on film festivals is that I love going to them. But so far, I have yet to have a film in a film festival.
So as far as festivals go, I think they have their place. They were not so important to me. What I found is that if you want to submit and be taken seriously by one of the leading film festivals, you cannot have shown your film anywhere, because most of the really good festivals, they want it to be the premiere there at their festival. Okay, so what I did with festivals is I knew I wanted laurels. So I entered a few small ones right here in Los Angeles, and I got my laurels. I did not try for the bigger ones. I did submit to a few others, but they are expensive. They're like $75, $85, $95 every time you submit. I don't even know the bigger ones like Tribeca or South by Southwest or Sundance. I have a feeling they're more expensive. And that adds up. You go to 10 festivals, you submit to 10 festivals, that's $1,000 or close to.
If that or more.
Close to that, right. And I was like, the most important thing for me to do is to get that film to my followers. So I didn't care much about the festivals because they were kind of standing in my way. If I wanted to get my film and do the festival, I couldn't. I had to choose. Either don't show your film and get it to the festivals, or don't do your festivals and get it to your followers. I chose get it to your followers. And so while I do see the value of a festival, especially for someone like Dave, who is building a career as a filmmaker, and he would want to establish relationships, have people know who he is, start to present himself as a legitimate filmmaker and say, here I am, here are my skills, here's my work. Whereas for me, I didn't have a need for any of that. I had a need to get it in front of my followers. So that's what I think about festivals.
I have been in a few film festivals, but really for my type of movies, low budget B horror movies, they really don't do anything. I go to a convention every year in Seattle, Crypticon Seattle, a horror convention. They have a film festival. I've been very lucky to have, I think, 7 of my movies premiere in that film festival. And I've been in a few other things, but really for my stuff, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to have a distributor swoop into some B horror bucket of blood film festival and say, oh, I want to buy all your movies. It just doesn't happen at this level, in this type of genre, in my experience. And for me personally, a bunch of film festival laurels, especially on a horror movie, have never really done it for me in terms of like, oh, I need to see that. Because frankly, I've entered tons of film festivals, and some I get in and some I don't. I've seen plenty of films that have a bunch of laurels that have gotten to festivals that are terrible, frankly. Some of them are great, some of them are terrible. So given that, it's like, well, I personally can't always rely on, we were in these 10 film festivals as a reason to watch the movie. Because I've been burned. I've watched stuff like, how did that get in those festivals?
I've been to a few film festivals before, been accepted, been denied, declined. I've won awards at film festivals. For me, I don't prefer them. I don't know if I'm a fan. They're not for me. I rather go to comic conventions or horror conventions or any type of expos where you're kind of face to face with an audience, and if you have a table, a booth with posters and DVDs and people walk by and they're interested, then that's who your audience is. For me, film festivals, as far as the in-person ones, it just feels like filmmakers and their families that are in the audience, and I don't know if that's who you're trying to market to, but for me, it just didn't work.
Film festivals, I think, are absolutely vital. It's harder in a COVID era to really get the same networking opportunities that you would get when you can actually meet and talk to people in person. That doesn't mean that you should not submit your film to places that you can't get personally. Like, it doesn't mean, say, if you live in America, it doesn't mean you shouldn't submit your film to an English film festival if that film festival is a good fit for your content, just because you don't think you'll be able to travel there. Now, there's something to be said about being in the room with the people that are watching your film and being able to talk to them beforehand, being able to talk to them afterwards, passing out business cards and kind of judging the energy of that room as your film is being watched. That's invaluable, and that's very difficult to do from a watch at home type of film festival environment that's become a lot more frequent during, obviously, the COVID era. However, you got to use whatever tools you have in that moment, and if that's what you got in the moment, then utilize it as best you can. I've had a friend of mine who had a super low budget short. I think it was just her, and I think they filmed it with 3 people. They had an interesting location. They had some good visuals. Submitted it everywhere, and it got so many different accolades from these different festivals, and those are another way. Like, it doesn't matter if someone hasn't heard of the festival before. If you say it won Best Picture at such and such festival, that means something, even if they don't know what that festival is. Some festivals mean more than others, and you want to make sure that where you're submitting is legitimate, not just a money-grubbing scam, because those exist as well. But I greatly prefer being there in person, but even when you can't do that, always utilize festivals because you're going to find people that are already predisposed to be interested in the thing that you are putting out into the world at that time.
Almost like The Stupid is a love-hate relationship with them.
And we ran one for 9 years in Australia.
We did. These days, I feel only the top tier festivals actually matter. So coming from making lots of short films in the past, we have been in many film festivals, won awards, got so many laurels on our posters that slap on. But we've never made any one of those major festivals like Sundance, South by Southwest, TIFF, and I still have dreams of making a festival like that one day. So festivals do matter as long as it's the right festival. So first tier festivals and maybe even second tier festivals, and probably specific niche festivals. That could be a way to find your audience for your film. Say you have a horror film, so you'll look up the top 10 horror festivals in the world and enter those. So it depends on the festival is my answer in short.
I think a lot of people place a lot of success on how many festivals your film has got into, and they're so excited to put those 50 laurels on their poster. But a lot of people don't understand that for us, our success is making money from our films. We don't care if we have 5 laurels on there, because to us, audience and selling is more focused on business these days.
It becomes a much more complicated debate in this COVID era now, where festivals have moved online. You know, when we used to attend festivals, you know, that was one of the greatest experiences, is the networking, being in the room with other filmmakers and watching your film on the big screen in front of an appreciated audience. I think as filmmakers,
I miss that so much.
You know, that's one of the reasons we make films. It's that kind of rush and the warm feeling you get of watching your film in a cinema in front of a crowd,
with
and
your
then
peers as well.
Getting the Q&As afterwards. It's like a tremendous feeling. And with that gone currently, are festivals still worth it? So,
and then you got the issue of piracy
question
as well. Like a lot of people say, is it safe to have your film online in front of all those people, when those people could be buying your film instead of watching it for free through a festival? So it comes down to exposure versus cash, I think.
And it's also like, it's a debate we're having with ourselves at the moment with our documentary Cats on Malta. They'll be finished in a couple of months. Do we try for the festivals first? You know, do we sit on the film for 6 to 12 months and see if we can hit one of these major festivals, or do we just do the marketing ourselves and release it, get it out there in Malta, and then get it out there on, say, FILMHUB or with a distributor, and try to find that audience immediately? So it's the long road versus the instant gratification. And me and Sarah have been debating that for a while now on what direction to take.
We need to make a decision quickly, but yeah, we're building the Maltese audience, but we don't know if it's enough to actually sell the film through that audience and have a local screening. So I love seeing my film on the big screen. It's something that I love. Maybe it's my ego, but I just like seeing the film, and I like being in a room watching films that you've made with other people, because you get the reactions, you get the feeling for the film. And for me, putting it online is very strange, because I'm very old school. Like, I like getting dressed up and going to the theater. I like making an event of going to the movies, which I haven't done in a long time now. But yeah, for me, it's a mixed feeling as well. I don't know what to do. And I find it strange actually watching it online. You know, I've gotten used to watching films online now, but like I said, it's still strange for me. So post-COVID, I don't know, let's see what happens.
Film festivals have played a pretty big role in our whole pipeline for our films. So typically we premiere at Genre Fest and we travel around the country and kind of get a sense of how our films are doing by how they do at festivals. And we've met some amazing people at festivals. So many opportunities that we've had, so many collaborations that we've had have come from meeting people at festivals. I think, again, there are a lot of people who complain about festivals because they have the idea that things are like some kind of fantasy world where they're going to bring their film to a festival, somebody's going to come and offer them a ton of money for their film, and that's really the purpose of it. But in fact, that's only true for very, very few festivals, maybe like the top tier of festivals. For the kind of mid-tier or the secondary or the specialization festivals, the genre festivals, it's really more about engaging with people, other creators, with audience who are going to help kind of bolster your career and promote your film later. I think, it's easy to get sucked into the kind of scammy festivals or festivals that aren't as dedicated to really promoting films. So it's important to talk to other filmmakers and to find out what festivals they've been to, they've actually attended, and what their experiences were like there. Because you really want to know about what that experience is, because the engagement on the ground is the most important thing. And that's been really difficult this year with COVID, because all the festivals have moved into a virtual environment. And it's not really as easy to be sitting in a bar talking for hours with somebody in a virtual environment. So some fests have done a great job of creating that engagement, doing a lot of kind of Zoom interaction or even virtual environments where people talk. But I don't think it's quite panned out to be the same as the in-person fests.
For me, film festival is a bonus. If you win something, you get to the film festival, they are good bonus to be able to have your laurel and your information out there, so people know that this is a award-winning film, or this is a film that got to tons of different festivals and people liking it. And for distributor-wise, they love to hear that, just because they say that means that this movie had potential to go further, just because everybody likes it, every film festival has been seeing it or accepting it, and so on and so on. It really doesn't matter small or big festivals, but you have to make sure that you pick out the right one, and also make sure to pick out the one that actually relate to your project. And you don't send a horror feature film or short film to a drama festivals. That will not work. When I make my movies, I usually don't think about film festival, but I think about the end result. I want to make a feature film to have it out there to be distributed. I want to make a short film to be out there for people to see it. If I get to film festival, that's an extra bonus for me. So this is how my mentality works, and so how I move forward for that.
It's really important to do a lot of research when you're submitting to festivals, because the way it's kind of said is that every film has an appropriate festival, but every festival is not the appropriate festival for your film. So you really want to reach out to the festivals that might play your film. There are a lot of festivals, the kind of top tier festivals, that don't really program from cold submissions. So don't waste your money, sending in to Sundance or something like that when you're not going to get in. Really target the festivals that are interested in finding new talent and engaging and supporting your work. If you make horror films, don't submit to standard kind of drama festivals. If you make comedies, don't submit to, really hardcore horror festivals. So really, it's important that you do the legwork. You don't just kind of blanket submit.